Hi everyone! Okay, so today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a book review. Now, I've done a couple of book reviews on my channel before. It's not something I do very often because if I'm being totally honest, I don't actually read that many books. It's really bad and I should do. I don't ever feel like I get the time to just sit down and read sometimes, although I've been trying to recently, especially before bed, because I know it's really bad to go on your phone, etc, etc, before you go to sleep. So I have been trying to get into more routine of actually reading a book to relax and to kind of like take my mind off things. So that is what I have been trying to do. And I've been doing it with this lovely book here. This is Wild About the Girl by Louise Pentland. Now, you will probably all know that I absolutely adore Louise. I always love Louise. I've watched Louise literally since she was pregnant with Darcy when I started watching her. So I would like to say 2010, probably around that time I started watching her. Crazy, I know. I followed her ever since and I've loved her ever since. But obviously, following on, I had to read this book. Now, I did actually do a review on her first book, Wild Like Me, which I'll leave the link to in the description box below, but I'd maybe recommend watching that video first if you haven't. Even though this book is following on from that book, you can sort of still read this book. You don't actually have to read the first book, but if I was you, I kind of would. I would like to read the first book first. Like, I would hate to kind of go into a series without having watched the first or read the first, you know, however many there are. So I would totally recommend reading the first book first. But if you haven't, don't worry, you can still read this book. But this is obviously going to be a whole review on Wild About the Girl. So this came out, I would like to say, I actually can't remember, I think it's in the summer. I think I got it like maybe the week after it came out. I'll leave it on the screen now what date it came out. But obviously I follow Louise, so I love her weekly vlogs. Her weekly vlogs are like my favourite. So I'd obviously seen her go through the process of writing this book, and I was really excited for when it came out, because obviously I'd read the first book, so I wanted to know what happened, obviously, in the second. So yes, obviously I went to pick this up. Now, as I said, I need to make time basically to read. So I kind of was quite slow reading this. Although I did, towards the end, I couldn't put it down. I actually was like quite bad. I was like, even though I had loads of things to do, I was just like, no, I need to prioritise reading this, because I would say sort of the last half of the book, I was just absolutely gripped to it and I could not put it down. So I think that's a sign of a good book, is when you can't put it down. Even if you're like me and you don't make time to read and you're a bit lazy and you just think, like I left it on my bed quite a lot of the time and I was just like, I'll read it tonight. But towards the end I was like, I actually can't put this down, like I need to know what happens. So I always think that's a very good sign of a good book. Now I'll start off with the kind of like age range this book, because I feel like whenever people think of YouTubers, they think, oh, the typical YouTube book. This, I will say off the bat, is totally not one of those YouTube books. And also Louise is kind of like, I feel like people think she has a more younger audience, which I'm sure she still does. I'm sure she still has kind of like a younger teenage audience. But she also has, I mean, probably most of her audience now are adults, and this is an adult book. Like, it's definitely not a children's book at all. It is an adult book. Now, I'm 20 and, you know, obviously I'm an adult. So I very much do enjoy books like these. I'm not saying that a younger teenager couldn't read this, because they completely could. I'm just saying that it's not directed towards a younger audience. It is a adult book, so it's not like, I feel like people kind of sometimes get the misconception of like, yes, oh, it's just a YouTube book, oh, it's that, but it is an actual novel and it is an adult novel. So yes, At the top there it says The Sunday Times #1 bestseller. Her first book was a #1 bestseller, which is incredible, and I think this was #2, I think, in the Sunday Times kind of chart, whatever it's called, which is incredible too. Like, honestly, I'm so proud of Louise. And she wrote this book when she was pregnant with Pearl and had Pearl. Like, how crazy, how mental you are, literally writing a book and juggling one child already, her lovely Darcy, who she has, and also pregnant with another lovely, lovely little girl, which is incredible. So yeah, now I can actually kind of get into the book. So it's called Wilde About the Girl. Now, that could be for many reasons. I don't actually know exactly why that was titled Wilde About the Girl. However, there is something at the end. I'll also just say I'm not going to include any spoilers in this. Obviously, I'm going to have to give a little bit about what the book's like and stuff, but I'm not going to give any spoilers. So if you are worried about that, don't worry. I'm not going to give any massive spoilers anyway. So don't panic about that one. But there is something at the end, which once I read that, I was like, I think that's why it's called Wilde About the Girl. Obviously as well, the book is about a woman called Robin Wilde, Wilde spelled like that, hence why it's called that, and the person was called Wilde About Me. And Robin Wilde has a lovely little girl called Lila, and can I also just say, I absolutely love the name Lila, and if I have a little girl, I'm 100% calling her Lila because I adore that name. I just really, really like it. I never really heard of it until I read Wilde About Me, and I was like, oh my god, I love the name Lila. So Robin has a little girl called Lila, which could also be why it's called Wilde About the Girl, but I won't spoil something that happens, which is why it could be called Wilde About the Girl. Anyway, right, so I'm going to read the blurb because it obviously kind of gives about the book, but doesn't spoil anything. So it says, Robin Wilde is ace in life. After a year from hell, she's pulled herself out of the emptiness. Her love life is ticking along nicely, and single motherhood is actually quite fun. When a thrilling opportunity at work arises, Robin is excited to step up and show everyone, including herself, what she's made of. But not everything is running smoothly. Her best friend Lacey is struggling to conceive, and her daughter Lila is sharing some horrible attitudes she's picking up at school. Is dear Auntie Kath hiding loneliness under her bubbly, lovely manner? And can Robin... I knew I couldn't read that without messing up. And can Robin definitely trust the people around her in her new role? But Robin and her girls together can handle any crisis, can't they? It says, life is about to throw quite the curveball at Robin Wilde. She'll need to make some pretty brave choices if she's going to stop everything she cares about falling apart. So, that was the blurb, yes. So basically, the story sort of follows Robin's life. The story is Robin, and she's obviously a single mother, and her the father of Lila has a new partner, and they live together. I actually quite liked in this book, we didn't really focus on them too much. They had the odd mention, but I actually really liked learning more about Robin as a single mother, if that makes sense. It was nice to see how well she was coping as a single mother. And yes, she does have a little bit of a love life in this book, which is very nice to read about, and this book is very relatable, even though I'm not a mother yet. I hopefully will be in the future, but I'm not a mother yet. But I feel like I can still relate to Robin a lot. I feel like she's just a normal working mum, and she has this really, really big passion. She is a makeup artist, and she works for this quite big company, and they have this massive opportunity. Shall I say where? I'll say this bit because I don't think it's like a massive spoiler. But she gets this massive opportunity to work at London Fashion Week, so that is like a massive part of the book, and that is a massive part of Robin's life, and that is something she can focus on, because the whole kind of part of the first book was a lot of the emptiness she was feeling being a single mother, and trying to handle all of life situations. So I feel like that was really great and that was lovely to read about. We have a lot of the PSMs still in there, the posh school mums. I love them. It always makes me laugh because I know a couple of those kind of people, and it just makes me laugh because it is so true. But yeah, I love reading kind of about them, and I feel like Robin is making a few more friends in work as well, which is lovely to read more about those friends in work and learning more about them. I also feel like we get a whole new side to Lacey in this book. Lacey is Robin's best friend. They've been best friends, I think, for years. But we sort of see a few different sides to Lacey, I feel like, in this book. There were times where I was going, oh my god, Lacey, why are you saying that? Why are you doing that? And then there were times where I really sympathised for her. So yes, it was nice learning more about Lacey, and also Auntie Kath as well, Robin's auntie. Auntie Kath is basically like just her mum, basically. She is kind of taken on the mum role because Robin doesn't really see her parents very much. So Auntie Kath is basically her mum, and she looks after Lila a lot of the time. But Auntie Kath has a new boyfriend, so that is very interesting to find out what happens between them, and the kind of the touches on death actually in this book, which I know is a very, like, that went really deep really quickly, but I feel like there's a lot of relatable things that happen once there's been a death in the family, etc, etc, and it's interesting to see how they as a family cope with things like that. So that was nice to read about. Obviously not nice, like the death didn't happen in this book, but there has been a death in the family which then has an effect on other people, if that makes sense. I don't really want to obviously give everything away, but that's the kind of main gist of that part. Now there is something that does happen in this book which I think everyone was calling it the thing, and when I got to the thing, my heart, like, honestly broke. It is a horrible thing that happens. I'm not going to say what, because I don't want to spoil that. But yes, there is something that happens. I'd say sort of it's maybe like halfway throughout the book, and once the thing happens, it does have a humongous effect on Robin's life. So from sort of that part of the book onwards, we see how she is going to cope with the thing that happened. When I sort of read through that part, I was just like, oh my gosh, she is an amazing mum. Like, how is she doing all this while being a mum and while coping and while trying to still work and trying to have a best friend and blah blah blah. Like, she honestly is a badass mum, and I love Robin Wilde so much. Like, I wish she was an actual real person. So yeah, that's the kind of like main gist of the book. As I said, I don't really want to give much else away. What I will say though is that it's a very, very good storyline. The things that happen in this story are very, very well played out. I think they are quite sensitive. You know, nothing is too much, it's not exaggerated in any way, and I think Louise wrote this really, really well and thought of a lot of people that could be affected by things like this. So I think she did handle that in a very, very well, like, what am I trying to say? I was going to say well managed way, but I don't think it's the right phrase. Just basically she handled it well. So yeah. I have to say, I actually think I do prefer this book to the first book. I think it's a bit more kind of fast paced. This book, quite a lot happens in it, quite quickly as well. I feel like I got into the book more quickly than I did with the first book. I feel like Louise was maybe able to get into this book more and kind of write about those characters and things more in more detail. I really, really loved that, and I loved learning about different characters. And yeah, I thought it was a very like easy read. It wasn't, you know, something I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to read this book. Like, I did want to read this book, and as I said, I don't read a lot of books, and I really should do, but it was something that I was able to read like quite easily, which is nice. Obviously when the kind of difficult topics came up in it, obviously there were points where I felt like crying, there were points where I was like really sympathised with some of the characters in the book as well. And I love things where you could do that, and when you really can picture certain situations in your head as well. I feel like that's when you know you're reading a good book, when you actually can picture it. And also like all the details and the descriptions of certain events and stuff, I was just like picturing it in my head thinking, oh my gosh, like I wish I was there right now, that kind of thing. I think it is a relatable book for many different reasons, whether you're a single mum, whether you're just a mum, whether you're like me and you're a 20-year-old girl just single and you're looking for love, and I feel like there's like relationship advice kind of in this book as well, which I've definitely kind of taken on board. I think I've realised stuff that Robin realised in the book as well. And yeah, there's a lot of different topics, as I said, death, grieving, family situations, school as well. Lila kind of goes through a few different things. I feel like at the age she is, I've known children, I've got a younger brother, kind of go through those kind of phases in life as well. So it's interesting seeing, it's nice to know that everyone kind of goes through those kind of situations. So that's really lovely to see as well. I also do really like not everything's PG in this book, you know. As I said, it's not a child's book, so it's nice to have not everything like really PG, if that makes sense, which is nice because, you know, as I'm 20, like I don't want to read books that are like for younger teenagers anymore. So yeah, that was nice. Has a lot of good reviews on the back as well from people like Page 2, Nancy Kelk, Sophie Kinsella, Giovanna Fletcher, Sunday Times. Sorry, my battery just ran out, I'm back. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people also think this book is based on Louise and Louise's life. I feel like the first book may have been a little bit, but this book definitely I don't think is. This is, I think, obviously this is from Louise's heart, and I feel like some things may kind of be similar to her life, but it's not a book of her life, and then like the things that happen in this aren't really related to Louise, if that makes sense. So it is a completely kind of different story, and this isn't based on Louise's life, because I feel like people may think that, but it's definitely not. From reading it, it's definitely not. Yeah, I think that's all I'm kind of going to say about the book, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but I would definitely recommend it. I think it's really good read. As I said, age-wise, I would say sort of late teenage onwards. I think pretty much anyone's going to enjoy this book. As I said, you know, I'm not a mother, but I still very, very much enjoy this book. I think you could read this kind of whatever stage you are in life, really. I think you will enjoy it. You probably have a few giggles. There are some quite funny parts in there as well, and some more emotional times, and some times where you think, oh my god, what are you doing? Those kind of like moments. But yes, I would 100% recommend this. I am very, very, very proud of Louise for writing a book like this. Like honestly, as I said, I couldn't put this down towards the end, and I'm very excited because I think there is another one coming out. I'm very, very excited for, because it kind of, the ending, it's sort of like, there definitely could be another book, if that makes sense. It doesn't end and like everything's sort of finished with, if that makes sense. It ends on a very nice ending, actually. As I said, I won't spoil it, but there is a very lovely ending. Things are tied up towards the end, but it's not like the end, if that makes sense. So yes, I will leave all links to where you can purchase this book in the description box below. You can pretty much get this at any really bookstores. It's on Amazon. I reckon it's probably cheaper on Amazon, I'd say. You get it from W.H. Smith, Waterstones, etc, etc if you are in the UK. But as I said, I'll leave all the links to that in the description box below, along with the first review of the first book and the link to the first book if you want to buy that one too. But yeah, really, really, really like it, and I very much doubt Louise will be watching this, but if you are, Louise, I'm very proud of you, and I could not be happier with this book. I thought it was so good, and it kind of fulfills all my oh my gosh, cannot speak. It filled all my expectations of the kind of second book, because I feel like once you bring out a second book, you kind of feel like it has to be as good as the first book, if that makes sense. And to be honest, I thought it was better. So you did very well, and yeah, I'm not just saying this because I love Louise. Honestly, I did really actually enjoy the book, and I wouldn't have read it all if I didn't enjoy it, basically. So yes, go buy the book. I'm really sorry, I have had a little bit of a cold, so I'm sorry if I sound a bit sniffly in this video, but I did really want to film this today, so I hope you don't mind. If you have any questions or anything on this book, then please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I hope you're all doing well. I have quite a few videos coming soon. I can't believe we are already in October. I have some Halloween themed videos, and then it'll be Christmas videos coming up soon as well. So look out for those. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I do try and upload weekly. So yes, there'll be a lot coming on my channel soon, so look out for that. Don't forget to give this video a massive thumbs up if you do enjoy it. Leave a comment below and subscribe to the channel. I love you all lots, and I'll see you all in my next video. Lots of love. Bye. Mwah.